morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to Drinks and Daves. We're actually coming live from the Magic. I'm actually set up on the promenade deck of the Magic, and Dave is on a very special thing. The Disney production crew was very nice to put a boom, and that boom and chair extends out a quarter of a mile from the ship itself. So we hope that Dave doesn't get bit in the butt by a shark.
It's chilly up here. Now. Yeah.
So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Let me quick hello to Bruce, Dad, Steve, Panteja, Scott, Opera Man, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if he's been drinking a little bit of scotch today because
Friends, women's, countrymen. So that's how you pronounce that. That's how you say
okay. So did he lose a tooth? And, he's got kind of a whistle.
Got
a whistle.
A little bit.
And Tig Lily is here in the house. She's been processing rocks again.
Yeah. Is that kind of like corn that come out the same way they go in?
That's just wrong. That's just wrong.
I just
remember some of the first stuff that we're gonna get, you guys are gonna get. So,
well, clean it off well, would you?
You know, this watch was in your dad for all these years.
So, like, what's that?
Christopher
that coffee?
Oh, Kofi Luwak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wasn't impressed with it.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Plus, now like 95% of it's counterfeit or something.
Something like that. Yeah. I think I got that from Chris. I think he sent me something. But it had a little bit of a wang to it. And for those and whoever gets the movie reference to what I just said needs to put that in the comments, because it was a movie, one of the greatest movies ever. And somebody asked this guy a question. He goes, "Well, it's got a little bit of a wang to it. Good though." So we'll see if everybody knows what movie that is, and if not, I'll reveal it. So what's going on? How was your week so far?
So far, I've only been back a day. So,
two. It's Tuesday.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, that's right. Monday you got home from vacation.
Yeah, I got home. Yeah, I got off. Well, we're gonna be talking about that. I noticed. I just fired up the Oliva G, which is one of my go-to. I didn't think you were smoking anything.
I thought you were just smoking the.
Yeah, that's over. Have you ever done two at once?
You're talking about cigars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I haven't either. But I wanted this one for the show, and this was the prep one, but it's still going.
Oh, so the prep cigar is not the bougie cigar, even though those are wonderful cigars and very, very inexpensive.
Right. That's how we.
So I'm smoking an Arturo Fuente Gran Reserva Maduro today.
Excuse me.
Well, so good.
Yeah. And and you're drinking some kind of a Soda Stream concoction?
Yes, they just came out with this. Mug root beer, 0 sugar. So it's got all the creaminess and lovely flavor of root beer, but with 0 sugar. So Mug, Coca-Cola, or Pepsi, you need to give us some sponsorship, because I just called you out.
Now you don't add stuff to your soda.
What do you mean?
Like syrups, flavor it up.
No. Well, I mean, I take that back. The bubbly, the buble, or whatever the heck they call it, has a lime concentrate. Yeah. I'll do that. I'll add that into the Pepsi every once in a while. But see, I would do Coke Zero because I prefer Coca-Cola to Pepsi, but they don't have a Soda Stream. Pepsi's got the market locked on Soda Stream. In fact, I think they own Soda Stream. And so lime, like if somebody wants a Cuba Libre, rum and Coke, you can't do a rum and Pepsi. You know, that's like doing a Scotch and milk. I mean, you just don't do it.
But do you do a rum and Coke Zero?
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, I do that all the time. But we're waiting, both of us are waiting for the Baja Blast from Mountain Dew.
Yeah, because they've got the Mountain Dew, the standard, right?
And the red. And they have the red.
Oh, right. And the red. Yeah, the original, the normal, that's nowhere close to Mountain Dew. That's weird. Yeah. What is this? Molecular.
Hi, Mika, Heine Ho. That coming, yes. Oh, the Torani syrups. No, I only use the Torani syrups in something about a hazelnut Pepsi just doesn't really.
No, I was just thinking how overboard creamy would your root beer be if you put a few squirts of vanilla in it? Oh wait, you were talking about the.
Oh wait!
Floats.
Breaking news. Have you ever had one though? At least tell me that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I misconstrued. I thought that you told me earlier before the show.
I never had a root beer float.
Root beer float.
Yeah.
Root beer floats are the bomb.
But see, you got to try that now. You make the root beer and put in vanilla syrup and see if it tastes like the remnants of root beer
true.
float.
I think I do have some vanilla syrup somewhere around here. Yeah, obviously when we do the lattes and stuff in the Brazils.
Dave's looking off screen because you can hear the folks down in the kitchen working away on dinner there.
Yeah, they are. Well, I told the staff I wanted to eat dinner beforehand, but our staff lately, they just don't. Well, the thing is, they had to fly out to Warehouse 4 to pick up some scotch from you, and and I think they got locked out or something like that. So it's been an interesting week and it all on my days off from Saturday evening or Saturday afternoon when I got off till now has been a very interesting automotive thingamajig.
Yeah, everything's fixed now. Operational
everything's
for
fixed
the time
now. It's
being.
just ironic how the sun just went down, or at least I broke a light. I went out to my car and it didn't start, the Jeep. So I got the Jeep towed, and it turned out it was a complete ignition system that I had to replace. But the ironic thing is when Sharon came to pick me up that same day, her truck wouldn't start. So we had to replace the battery. So it was an interesting thing. Yeah. No, our staff has been told not to throw rocks because they could be of gem quality.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to ding up the rocks. Yeah,
exactly.
So it was I posted on the forum. We had an interesting experience on the way back I've never seen this before, and I didn't take full advantage of it. But the airport lounge we were in had a self-service bar. So it just had bottles of alcohol lined up. It had a tap for beer. It had wine bottles out and cups and ice and syrups and all this stuff.
Were the whiskeys metered? You know how they have the metered machines where you squeeze just one shot. You can just pour away.
You could just pour away. So I had my Coke Zeros with rum, and I didn't want to feel.
And this was in Vancouver. Vancouver. Oh well, there you go.
Is that it? They're just like whatever.
Canadians. The Canadians. They're the nicest people on the planet.
They're like, here, have my alcohol.
Yeah. Now, how much did you self-pay too, or was it all just?
No, it's part of the flight. We got access to it.
Oh, okay.
It's free.
Oh, so it wasn't access to everybody. So some schlop walking through the airport can't just say, "Hey, I'm going to go up and have a drink." It was an elite thing. So that's why, because here's what they figure. Well, we got him for that much money. We might as well give him a free drink, and he can pour it himself.
That's right. We'll let him have the cheap stuff.
That's kind of cool, though. Yeah. And how was there a limit, like a sign saying only 6, or you could have as much as you wanted?
There's some little sign about responsible drinking, and that's all the farther I read down the thing. I don't know what it said after that.
Well, and that's the Canadians going, well, Sven, we probably should put a sign up there just to be nice. But the cool thing about that is now here's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you have like a 6-hour layover at Vancouver. And then it won't matter when you get home. It won't matter.
That's right. Delayed? Perfect. Pour me another. You know this one? You almost knocked over your alcohol with your knife. I don't think I've ever heard that one.
Mm-mm. Why are we apologizing to the Maple Leaf Club? I just said that Canadians were wonderful people.
No, she thought it was the Club Rouge, but it's actually the Maple Leaf.
Maple Leaf Club.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it'd be cool. What would be really cool is if they had some guy dressed up as a moose, serving your drinks.
Yeah, that's not too far out there.
Because time for another movie reference. Because remember, the moose beat my sister. There's another movie reference that people won't get probably.
No. All right. So should we start our journey?
Yes, since we're cruising, and you know what's weird though is on my side of the ship it's still sunny, on your side of the ship it's sundown, so that's interesting.
Well, you know, technically these are two different ships.
I don't know the Disney ships. Is that the Wish?
No. This is the one that we were on. So this is you're on the Magic. This is the Wonder. Sister ships.
Okay.
The two oldest. Yeah. Of the thing.
Cool.
So we were gonna explore the different. This time, never done this before, but we went concierge level on this trip. So it's just more of like the differences we experienced and what you get with concierge. And so you were asking, you know, is it suites and all that stuff? And it isn't all that. We just had a normal balcony room, but it was part of the concierge level. And then they have, if you want the bedroom suites and all that stuff, that's all concierge.
But I would assume the concierge level is like decks 7, 8, or 9 somewhere.
The top 9, yeah, the top.
9, okay.
The top deck. But the coolest thing is once you reserve and you get closer to your cruise, you get this email from the land side concierge team saying, "Oh yeah, deck 8, top deck."
Obviously, well, yeah, Pantan knows it was deck 8. You said it was deck 9. So obviously, did you visit the Vancouver airport in advance?
Well, you know what?
Of your trip?
Here's what I'm drinking tonight. This is just water because I'm detoxing today. After the weekend, I'll tell you.
So we'll wait for Pantana to say how much you drank.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But they say you can email the team with all of your pre-cruise requests, from what you want to sign, you know, activities you want signed up for, to what you want your fridge in your room stocked with, and if you want any special pillows, and you want this and you want that, and they say sure, we'll take care of all that.
So in other words, what Tiglily wrote, do you get an extra pillow mint? You could have said, yes, we want 3 pillow mints each evening.
Could have asked, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But didn't have many special requests except for we wanted sparkling water in the room. And they said, sure, no problem. And then there's an adult restaurant on the ship. And one of the things that people sign up for right away is the brunch at this restaurant, because it used to be a wonderful buffet before COVID. And since COVID, no more buffet, but they have a menu of very nice dishes, and you can just keep ordering as much as you want, just one set cost, and you can order as many as you want. And Pontea went to sign us up for this, and there were no more availability. So we emailed the concierge team, and they say, sure. In fact, no, I called them up, and they said, we've got availability on every day of the cruise, whatever time you want. What would you like? Yeah. There you go.
So basically what happened, let me set the picture there. For those of you, I'm sorry, another movie reference. Yes, do I like movies? In the movie Wise Guys, there was a part where Ray Liotta and his date came in, and he threw the guy a 20. So let's assume that that's the concierge level. And the guy brought out a table, a candle, and everything, put it front stage. And all these people are going, hey, why can't I get in? Well, because the guy will break your thumbs. That's why. So this is very similar to that.
I suppose.
So in other words, you're the cruise mafia.
That's right.
That's pretty cool, though. So even though the rabble can't get in, since you were part of the concierge level, then they said, no, Mr. Sprecher, Mrs. Sprecher, we have room for
a table just for you.
But see, here's the marketing genius in that.
Yeah.
You will always go concierge level from now on.
Well, people do say that. The cost difference, again, my wife got a deal on this. That's why we did it. Most cruises, the price difference is ridiculous.
Oh, I can imagine.
And so we're like,
but now you're part of the group.
Yeah.
Because you guys are, well, do they have, like, I know that they have different, like, Admiral class, Swabby class, whatever. So you guys are at the concierge class now.
No, that's all just based. That's crazy. Disney does it different than everybody else. It's just based on the number of sailings you've done.
Oh, okay.
Which frustrates a lot of people. So we like to do the long sailings, and each one only counts as one. Whereas if you did a bunch of 3-day sailings that are much cheaper, each one counts as one, and you move up the ranks really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But so then
huh? No, I was going to say, so you got all the stuff that you wanted. Is there anything that they said, sorry, nope, we don't have it?
Well, they're not allowed to say no. But what did not happen is I requested the concierge lounge to stock a peated scotch. And it was not there. And I asked for it, and they said, we don't have any. And what was weird is all throughout the ship, they didn't have any peated scotch. So it wasn't just that bar. So I don't know what was going on, because every other ship we've been on has Lagavulin. I'm trying to remember the other ones. They had several choices for peated scotch. So I don't know. That was the only disappointment.
I would be willing to bet you that if you were to put, because I know on Disney there's only certain things they can say, they would probably have said tariffs. Oh. That's my guess. They would have said tariffs.
Well, hold on.
Of why they couldn't get that for you. There's no such thing as the mafia, just for the movies. Wink, wink. Yeah,
There we go. Sorry, Coast Guard flew right over the house. I'm sure you would have heard that.
Well, I heard the seagull earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
so then the day that you go to get on the ship, they have certain times you get assigned to show up at port. And so they have lines for each one of those times. And then there's a line for concierge, right? So whenever you show up to the port, you walk right in. They've got check-in lines for concierge, give you a little gold sticker so that everybody knows be nice to you.
There's the guy we want to pickpocket later.
And then when they start boarding, concierge is the first one onto the ship. You've got concierge host in the lobby saying, right this way, sir, right this way. Take you into a restaurant that's reserved for the concierge welcome lunch. You sit down and order your lunch.
This is all marketing, man. Because once you have that experience,
yeah,
you look back and you say, I'm not going to get on the ship with this rabble anymore. It was like in Titanic. DiCaprio and them were down to this level, and then these other people were up at this. Now you're at that level. And so I guarantee you the conversation will happen. It will happen between you going,
it will.
Well,
it will happen.
It's we only live once. And, the concierge level, we're treated like the Disney princess that Pantea is. See what I did there? Now you're going to feel guilty if you don't do it. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Steerage versus first class. Yeah. And she is a Disney princess, and I know because she has a graphic that says that she's a Disney princess in Disney font. So,
that's what's funny is one of the things they do when you get on the ship, they ask what your family name is, and they announce you as you get on the ship. Now, this is for everybody.
Really?
And they clap when you get on the ship. They will not say princess, because the very first time we went on a cruise, I said Sprecher family and Princess Tia. And they said, and they asked again, and they asked again, and they kept asking because they won't say princess, because there are Disney princesses and nobody else can be called a princess.
Really? Yeah. Wow. But so everybody that walks on that ship, they announce the name and everybody claps.
Yeah, they've got officers lined up in the lobby, and you get on, they announce you, and they're all sitting there clapping as you get on.
We're definitely going to have to do a Disney cruise, because we do celebrity, and when you get on celebrity, they say, here's your life jacket. Meet us out on the gangway for the test.
You want a water package? Want a drink package? You want?
Yeah. Your luggage may get to your room by 6.
So you're eating lunch. And the concierge hosts come table to table to explain how it all works. And they'll say, your room will be ready at this time, and it's an hour before all the other rooms are ready. And they'll say, you'll see a thing across the doorways because the rooms aren't ready yet. You're concierge. You go right under that, go to your room,
Oh, like crime scene tape?
No, it's a little, like the Ballards where they've got the thing they pull across. You've got that, yeah, across the doorways.
See, you've got me sold on concierge level. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
But so some of the big benefits though when you're on board is there's a whole lounge just for concierge level, where through most of the day they have small bites set out for you to eat, and one side has a TV screen with cartoons and stuff, so like the kids can be over there, and the other side is just like light jazz music playing, and it's up higher on the ship where you can look out. And then from 5 to I think it's 10 o'clock at night is open bar.
Wow.
And so that's where they didn't have peated scotch, but they did have Macallan. So I had to suffer through Macallan for the
was it a 12 or a 15?
It was a 12. It was just your basic.
It's still not that bad. Now explain for me. We've done this. Dave went crazy. So explain for everybody, because we've done a cruise show before, but explain, because I know there's some people probably in the audience that are saying, why in God's creation would you force me or force anybody to go on a Disney cruise when you're going to have Rugrats running around everywhere singing, "It's a small world after all"? And you explained it, and I'll let you explain it again, how that's really not how it works.
Yeah. So this was, I'll say that you can make the cruise experience what you want it to be. Right. So when we went with our girls, when they were smaller, they were all about the princesses and characters and stuff like that. Right. So we were down in the lobby getting photos with the princesses, and you stand in line, get photos with Mickey and Minnie and all that stuff. This time it was just us. We wanted just to relax. And so they have a whole adults only area that's its own pool and nice coffee shop and lounge chairs and sun deck and all that stuff that's for adults only.
So in other words, if a couple was going, you'd recommend Disney for two reasons. One, the fact that if you like Disney, it's everywhere. Two, because I know I read something about Walt Disney loved the old-fashioned style of cruising. The teak decks, the beautiful railings and stuff like that.
Yeah, see, look at that ship. Only one of those funnels works. The other one they added to it just to make it look like it was an old ocean liner. Like
so that. But would you say that Disney Cruise Lines is probably on the same level as Seabourn and stuff like that? Some of the higher.
No, it's a little lower. It's more like Celebrity, maybe. I think they say that kind of thing. But yeah, if you don't like Disney, it would drive you nuts, because you're walking through the hallways and you hear like Disney tunes and in the elevator and stuff like that. But it's
now, do they keep any of the retro Disney stuff around? Like 101 Dalmatians, Snow White, some of the original stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, you see artwork from the archives all over the ship.
Oh, okay.
And then the only show that we went to see, and I want to say, so we haven't been to the shows, they do the big Broadway style shows on all the ships, and they all have some different signature shows. And so we've seen them, so we don't tend to go to them again, but we went to one this time, and I'll have to say, I think it reminded us we need to go back to the shows, because this was one that they had made themselves but incorporated from a lot of their other things. And so it had the blue princess or the blue fairy or godmother or something like that in it. But I'll tell you, this was incredible, the special effects that they had, and major set pieces for each one of the scenes. And every time a scene changed, everything changed on stage, and they had 3 huge sections. I forget if they call them lifts or whatever. The blue fairy from Pinocchio. There you go. So Pinocchio was in the thing, and they also did Cinderella scene, kind of a scene from Cinderella, and a scene from Beauty and the Beast, where but just every scene. You would have the lifts going down and coming back up with huge set pieces. And you're like, you're on a ship, and where are they storing all of this stuff?
That's pretty
I'll
cool.
tell you, it was just amazing to watch.
Now, now that Disney has Star Wars, do you see Star Wars that much, or is it specific ships that do that? Because I know you were in a lounge that was kind of Star Wars related, right?
Right. That's on one of the ships. They had a Star Wars lounge, which was really cool. And they had some Star Wars Day at Sea specific sailings where they'll have the characters and stuff. Mm-hmm. They're more into Marvel now, kind of as a continuous thing. So they had, you could get your photo with Black Panther a few different times, and they've got Marvel themed restaurants in all the new ships, and a picture with Spider-Man, that kind of stuff.
Well, that's kind of cool. So so really it brings out, if you're just going as an adult, it brings out that childhood memory too. You know, you don't have to worry about a bunch of kids. Now, I assume that the food is also probably pretty Disney themed. So like, because I think you posted a cookie that was a Mickey Mouse type cookie or something like that.
Well, they a little bit. So they have Mickey waffles for breakfast. The star of the show is the churro Mickey waffle, which they only have one morning every sailing. But oh my gosh, you have a big old churro and cover that in syrup. That's delicious.
So Pantea just said so all the restaurants are themed to a specific movie or a specific character or a theme set, I assume, right?
Usually a movie. So yeah, I'm trying to remember. Well, one is called Animator's Palette. That's just about the art of animation and Mickey and all of their cartoons and stuff like that. And then we had Tiana's Palace. That was one of our restaurants. And so they had a little like jazz band playing during dinner, and Tiana came out and sang, and pictures.
That's kind of cool. And then after your churro, of course,
and your football. Yeah. That's right. And then, you know, unlimited Mickey bars if you're into the ice cream.
And those are the ones that are a vanilla and chocolate with the ears, kind of like a black and white cookie, right?
Yeah.
Now, also, this was a repositioning cruise. So explain that, because those are completely different than any other type of cruise. And even if you're not on Disney, for those people that are interested in cruising, a repositioning cruise are very, very, very affordable. Because
they tend to be less expensive, because they're moving the ship from one home port to another. So this one was the ship had been stationed in San Diego doing down Mexico for winter cruises, and they're moving it up to Canada to do Alaska cruises for the summer. So it was just a cruise to get it from one place to another. This was a pretty short one for repositioning because a lot of them are like transatlantic because they're going over to Europe for the summer and then coming back. And because it's just tons and tons of sea days, especially those, that a lot of people, it's during the school year. So if you're on a long one, they can't have kids out of school, so they tend not to be full. And some people don't like just being on the ship that long. And so they do tend per night to be less expensive.
Now, on the repositioning cruise, do they have a lesser of a staff number also?
No. Nope.
Oh, okay.
Because it's the same people that, you know, were servicing it, whatever it was doing is they will need.
Now, there was no stops either, correct?
For us, there wasn't. We're doing one that's pretty much repositioning, but next year it's going from Texas through the Panama Canal to San Diego. Okay. And they do that to get over to San Diego, but that's 2 weeks long. And so it'll have, I think it's 3 or 4 stops.
Okay.
Plus the Panama Canal.
Now, does Disney do Hawaii?
Yes, rarely. And it tends to be when the ship is going down to Australia. They'll take it over to Hawaii, do that, and then.
So that's like a 31-day cruise, probably.
It's long, yeah.
So is this your first repositioning cruise?
Yeah.
And what did you think overall? Would you do it again?
Maybe it is too short. We don't like. I mean, it worked out well because we really didn't have time to take off more. I think we already had another cruise for this year, so it worked out. But I much prefer the ones that are a week or longer. You kind of get into the groove. Plus,
now, have you done Disney to Alaska yet?
No, we did Alaska, but we didn't do Disney because of the price difference.
Oh, really? Quite a bit.
It's double what anybody else would be, pretty much.
Oh, wow. So what cruise line did you do on that? Celebrity?
Royal Caribbean.
That's what we did. Royal Caribbean. Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Celebrity and Royal Caribbean are the same company, I believe.
Yeah, they might be, but yeah. So getting back to the lounge, that's where we spent most of our evenings. We wouldn't go to the shows, and we would just hang out there, having cocktails and their, charcuterie and that kind of stuff. And so I had my first what do you call that thing with the vodka and the olives?
A martini?
Martini.
That was your first martini ever?
Martini ever.
Now, and was it a gin? So it was a vodka martini, not a gin martini.
Vodka martini. And I was a little surprised because I said, let's make it dirty. And I thought they would do, just a little bit of olive juice. Oh no. He took the top off and he's pouring it in the jigger. I'm like, that's a little bit. He said, oh yeah, really dirty, like half and half.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was shocked by how tempered down the olive flavor was.
Oh yeah, well the mixture of the vodka and the olive juice. But now, and also usually with a dirty martini, a lot of times they'll add a little bit more vermouth. Sometimes with that.
So it wasn't bad.
Because my dad, when he used to order a martini, he would say, okay, I want a martini very dry. So basically, I want you to pour the vodka in and wave the vermouth bottle above it. Don't pour anything in it.
So he just wants the vodka.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, my parents, one of my memories as a kid is when it started to get warm around June, my parents would come home from work, and they both, as you know, worked in the hospital field. And they would have a vodka and tonic out by the pool. That was their thing, and I was usually the bartender.
Yeah. So I do need to try, because obviously I like gin, but I didn't try it until towards the end of the cruise. So I did try one not dirty, I guess just a martini. I didn't like that as much. I like the little flavor from the olive juice.
Well, the thing is, like I don't like dirty martinis with the olives. I actually use the cocktail onions.
Yes.
That I really like.
Now, see, I asked for that and they didn't have cocktail onions at that bar. So I was
wow. Interesting.
But you don't do olive juice and cocktail onions, right?
No.
You just do the cocktail onions and the vodka.
The vodka, vermouth, yeah. But I am what Axeman's saying. I am more of a gin martini guy though, because I love gin. So
yeah. So I guess I was surprised too about how much vermouth they put in. Because again, I thought that you just rinse the glass with the vermouth, but no, they're pouring in like half a jigger.
Exactly. So before you guys went on this cruise, you were telling me that you guys did something you hadn't done before, and you guys paid for the spa day, right?
We did, but we canceled it.
Oh, how come?
Yeah, because we had forgotten. We hadn't been on one of the smaller ships for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And the spa is very different on the bigger ships. And so we knew that they had like the heated loungers, and then they have the showers with different kind of smells built into them and all this stuff. But we also thought that they had a hot tub reserved for the spa. Well, they had a steam room, but I said, there's no hot tub. And they said, well, it's just outside. And it was outside in the adult area where everybody could. I'm like, I'm not paying for a heated lounger in a steam room,
right?
We went to sit in the hot tub. So
yeah, it's like when we were on Royal Caribbean, I think. I can't remember if this was in Alaska, but we did a spa day where you do the mud. The mud, that was neat. That was a lot of fun. And then Sharon got a massage, and we ended up having some issues with that because the massage therapist was horrible. Now, do the smaller ship have Hook's Barbary? Is that on all ships?
No, that's all only on the brand new ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because that's one thing I really want to see that.
I was going to say you wouldn't do that though, right? You wouldn't let.
No, the only thing I want, but it kind of bummed me out. You told me that they don't have Hook's Barbary swag, and to me that would be perfect to have. I mean, maybe they have it on some of the other. Because what's the biggest ship in Disney's line now?
It's the Wish and the Destiny right now. Yeah.
Now, do they mostly hang out in the Caribbean so they can go to their island?
They're all over the place now because they've got enough. They always keep a couple in the Caribbean. They always send one to Europe for the summertime, and then Alaska. And then they bought one that was half completed that was being made for the Asian market by some other cruise line. And so they finished that. And that one is by far going to be their biggest one. And it's going to be, I forget, but
that
it'll
would
be
neat.
focused over in Asia.
Yeah, this is what she just said. Yeah, the adventure in Singapore. So I would assume that would be a fun cruise. That would be a blast because I assume it goes through Singapore and probably goes up into Japan, maybe. Or
you know what? That's the crazy. It doesn't do anything. And we don't know if it's just because it's new. And so when they have a brand new ship, they tend to do shorter cruises to get a bunch of folks on them.
Right.
It leaves Singapore. It goes out in a big circle for 3 days and comes back.
Wow.
That's it. Yeah. But they did that in Australia too. They just kind of go out and go around and
so
back.
On these smaller ships, you see, when we were doing Celebrity, we like the smaller, older ships because there's less people. Because now some of these ships, I mean, you're talking 5,000 to 7,000 people. I can go to the mall. I mean, to me, I like the smaller ships. That's why the next one we're considering is doing one here local, the Columbia River. I hear that's a fantastic cruise. You guys have never done that one, have you?
Never done a river cruise. No. We would like to, if we did a river cruise, it'd be like the Christmas village.
Oh, the Christmas markets. We want to do that.
In like Germany.
We want to do that. Yeah. But the problem is, winter in Germany is not 75 degrees. So I would have a tough time selling that.
Well, what if you say that it is and it's just unseasonably cold when you get
kind of like what I did with Leica being 40 pounds? That didn't work so well. Oh, and she ate, we don't know for sure, but there was a bottle of ibuprofen and ibuprofen will kill a dog. And so she's okay so far. Sharon gave her some activated charcoal. She's still a puppy. They say she's 4 years old. No.
There you go.
Hey, there you go. I could see. I'll let Pantea sell that to Sharon. That would work. Do they sell caskets? See, this is my point. Do they sell caskets on it? Yes, and you can decorate it with little German ornaments.
Yeah, get it painted. Painted.
No, to me, after being stationed over there during Christmas, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's so cool. All the Christmas markets and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd like to do that. And actually, I wouldn't mind doing the Amsterdam to Basel and then spend an extra week in Basel. And you know why? It's the watch capital of the planet.
You can only buy so many watches, though. Or you would only be allowed to buy so many.
Okay, there you go.
Pick one. Pick your favorite.
So we're at that time of the show where we have to ask, so how was the food? Was on a repositioning cruise, is it consistent with some of the longer cruises you've gone on?
It's all the same. It's all the same. Same food, same menus, all that stuff. And again, we went to the adult restaurant for lunch, and then we went again for dinner. And that stuff is amazing.
Now, does Disney have, like the other cruise lines, a main dining room, that you can go to as well?
Well, so what we were talking about is the themes for the dining rooms. Every Disney ship has 3 dining rooms, and you're assigned which one you go to each night and a table number. And so they have this thing that's different than everybody else where your serving staff moves with you. So you have the same serving staff every night, no matter which restaurant you're in.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. So they kind of learn what you like. So after the first night, if you ordered a Coke Zero, then the next evening you go there and a Coke Zero will be sitting there waiting for you. And yeah, you kind of form a relationship with them, especially the longer cruises. You kind of get to know each other. And
now I know with not Seabourn, there was another, oh God, what was the name of the cruise line? Where it's considered an all-inclusive.
So you know how?
No, there's one above that. God, I can't remember what the name of it is. I always forget. But in that level, that level where you pay one price and that's it. And you actually don't even, because I remember one of the last things we always used to do and it's been years since, it's been 20 years since we've been on a cruise, but you have, you sit down and you start doing your gratuities for everybody. But I understand on a lot of ships now, it's all inclusive, and it's just done for you. Is that the way it is on these, or no?
No, I mean, not really. Like, so they tell you how much is recommended per day, per person. Right. And if you don't do or say anything, then that automatically gets billed to you. And that's what we did this time. But we did give a little extra. One of the concierge guys, so they have this really nice coffee machine in the concierge lounge where, you hit the button or whatever you want and stuff. And, my wife likes her coffee hot.
Yeah.
And she went and got a latte, and she's like, this is kind of warm. Mm-hmm. And so she mentioned it to one of the hosts, and he said, well, yeah, it's because, it's because the kids can use the machine and we don't want it too hot. It comes up drinkable. He said, you know what? I'll go down to the coffee shop and I'll get you one. And she said, no, I can go down and get. He said, yeah, but you'd have to pay for it. I'll go get you one.
Wow. So, that's pretty cool.
So he got a little extra.
That's cool
for doing that. But
now, are the because I know on a lot of cruise lines, wherever the registration of the cruise line is, like Croatia or stuff like that, that's the staff primarily. Do you find that with Disney, it's that same type of international crew, or is it mostly Americans?
No, I imagine it's the same with all the other cruise lines because, I think a lot are registered in the Bahamas because of their labor laws. And so depending on the venue now, the Americans tend to be the entertainment staff because they get paid more, because Americans wouldn't go and get paid what you're going to pay your servers in the dining room and stuff like that.
Right.
But I'm trying to remember.
And people don't realize how hard the staff works because they don't, like, if you have your waiter for dinner, he's doing pool 1 hour, he's doing this another hour, and the accommodations that they have probably aren't the greatest.
Yeah. They work their butts off. Yeah, because you see your server at the buffet line at lunchtime and they're there at breakfast time or doing room service or stuff like that. So, yeah. Then they don't get any days off.
No.
That's what's crazy. I mean, I can't imagine.
But they probably do fairly well because where are they spending their money?
Right. Well, and so this gentleman that helped with the coffee, he's from South Africa, I believe, and he told us about his wife and his kids, and kind of all the money goes back home. So when we tipped him extra, he said, well, my wife thanks you. And so it's a way that people kind of in countries that don't pay a lot can make a lot of money comparative to jobs where they're from.
Well, and I would imagine if they want to take time off, it's like some of those other jobs, they probably bid on the position, I would imagine. Is that the way it works?
They sign for contracts that are long. I think they're like 3 to 4 month contracts, and then they're off for like 6 weeks at a time.
Oh, okay.
So they have that break in between and then come back. And
now, does Disney own the cruise line, or did they sub that out to another cruising company?
They own it.
Oh, okay. So these people work for Disney.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, I wonder if the cruise staff, let's say they wanted to get off the water for a while, could they work in a park? That would be an interesting.
I don't know.
Because I know that I would imagine the characters on the ship are under the same guidelines as the characters in the parks. And I never realized how strict they can't talk to anybody. I mean, they can't.
They have to learn the signature of their characters. In fact, so somebody was mentioning they were coming from the lounge with a cocktail and went to take pictures with a character. And they said, please lower your arm because the characters can't be seen with alcohol in photos around them. And
oh, wow.
I know that the American staff, though, we've talked to some that have done the parks and the ships and stuff because like the people that work in the kids clubs too on the ships tend to be Americans that kind of can move around the Disney World.
That's kind of cool. I mean, at least it gives some options, as far as how to do that. Now you guys, as soon as you guys got off the ship, you were at the airport, right? Pretty much.
Yeah. Like I said, this was a quickie one. We always do that though. We come home after the cruise, but a lot of times, especially if we're going to Europe, we'll go there a couple days beforehand. So like I've never been to Texas, so on that Panama Canal one that leaves out of Texas. Galveston. We'll probably go a couple of days beforehand just to.
Well, there's nothing to see. Galveston.
Maybe we won't then.
Yeah, I mean, except maybe a couple of errant jellyfish in Galveston Bay, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like what I like about that type of cruise is if you can't get a ton of time off or you don't want to be away from the house that long, repositioning cruises can be the way to go. Because how many days was this? 5 days? 4 days?
It's 4 nights. Yeah, 5 days, 4 nights.
Yeah, anybody can, you can do that. I mean, we've never been interested in the Mexico cruises because I can drive an hour and be in Mexico. To me, if you're going to do a cruise, it's Alaska. The cruise that we have a bucket list for is I'd love to leave San Diego, go to Hawaii, do all the Hawaiian Islands, and then that one actually goes down to Fiji and stuff like that. But that's 34 days. I mean, that's a long cruise. Hey, Texan, how are you, sir?
Yeah, dang. Yeah, I can't. You got to be retired to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the Alaska cruise is my favorite. I just love it.
Yeah, and a lot of people that were on this cruise were staying on to do the first Alaska.
Yeah. Oh, so you can do that. So you can do a reposition, then just add on their
you
first.
You can do that
cruise.
with some people do that with the Caribbean ones. They'll do 2 7-day ones back to back, and you have to get off for a few hours for customs.
Right.
But
right. That'd be pretty cool. But since you're kind of experienced with Disney more than any other cruise line, I think, what is the benefit to you when you look and you compare Celebrity or you compare Seabourn or Silver Seas? What is it about Disney that you keep going back to?
Hold on, sorry. That the Coast Guard just went right over it again. What was your final question comparing to the other ones?
Yeah, comparing to all the other cruise lines that you go to, what brings you back to Disney over and over again? Besides the fact that I know that you and Pantea love Disney.
Yeah. Well, I think I know that all the barflies haven't followed us forever, so we told this earlier on. But my wife had done a cruise before I met her that was the same type of thing, just up the West Coast. It was super rough, very seasick. The ship didn't look all that great. And when I tried to get her to do another cruise, she's like, I don't think so. I don't want to.
Oh,
and
really?
I said, no, you got to try Disney. Very different. The cleanliness is amazing. And so that's the thing other than Disney is the service and the cleanliness of the ships. That, people will say, oh, there's rust on all ships. You're going to find it. No, if you're ever in a port where you see a Disney ship and anything else, the other one's you're gonna see little rivulets of rust going down the white side of the boat and all that stuff. And people say, well, that's just the way it is. Not on a Disney ship. They are over the side painting all the time. We saw them sanding down some of the wood railings and revarnishing them while we were moving. So I mentioned the ship that is in your background is their oldest ship, and the one we were on is their second oldest. You couldn't tell. Everything looks as it was new, renovated, not faded, on all that stuff. And we've been
it would seem to me that those folks that like that traditional old school style cruising would try to stick. Do you see people that stick to one ship?
A little bit. Some people do, like the brand newer ones. I don't prefer them because they aren't this traditional look on the inside. On the outside, they look like this, but on the inside, they're more modern and not the art. I got corrected. I thought it was Art Deco, but I guess it's Art Nouveau styling and all that. But you see the pictures on the TV where it looks like a hotel inside. I don't like that.
Right. I want to know that I'm on a ship. And that's what we did. I'm not sure which Celebrity ship we did to Alaska, but it was one of their older ships. And there's a different feeling cruising on an older ship. I mean, there's just something about it. And I know that that's what Disney, he wanted people to have that cruise experience rather than, being in a floating hotel, And plus now, how many people did you have off the top of your head on the ship? Do you know?
I don't know. I think the capacity is like 2,400, which sounds like a lot, but it doesn't get busy. And that's what's crazy is that their bigger ships hold 3,000, and their newest ones, even though they're bigger, still only hold 3,000.
Oh wow!
So they're not, crammed in there. They just have more space to move around in.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that huge one that's going to be in
Singapore,
Asia, that's 5,000.
See, that's no, it's too much. I mean, I think on the cruise line that we went, 1,800. Okay, now see that's because when we went to Alaska, I think we were early in the season. I think we had 875. It was perfect.
Whoa, yeah,
perfect. Because it was colder. I mean, it was a little bit colder, but still, it was just absolutely wonderful. But what if you and Pante were to pick one thing about this cruise that you really cherished the moment or whatever the case may be, what would it be?
Well, for me, it'd be torn because I love the lounge. I love just sitting there and relaxing and quiet and all that. But like I said, going to that show afterwards, we were both like, wow. Like I said, Disney's known for their fireworks, and they're the only cruise ship that has fireworks at sea and stuff. At the end of the show, they had things that looked like fireworks going off in the theater.
Wow.
Over and just we were just like, this is amazing. Yeah.
Well, and I know that you had mentioned the one thing that you didn't like about your balcony is because of where the bulkhead was on the deck above you, which means you couldn't see, the fireworks, from your area.
Right. We would have had to gone up with the commoners onto the deck to watch the fireworks. Again, we've seen them. You've seen fireworks, so we're like, oh, we'll just,
right.
watch them from
here. I would assume, and maybe I'm wrong, are the Disney ships all non-smoking?
No, they do have smoking areas, and on the newer ships, the smoking area is very impressive, actually. On these older ships, it tends to be one little corner with a few tables. On the newer ships, it's like a whole section with very nice chairs and loungers, and I mean, it's like you wouldn't, if you were a smoker, you could hang out there all day.
But what about a cigar smoker? Different or about the same?
You can. So, the one before this, I think I took some cigars because on the two middle ships, the Fantasy and I'm forgetting the other name right now, but they have 2 adult restaurants, and in between the adult restaurants is a nice lounge, and off of that is a smoking area where a lot of people smoke cigarettes, but every time I was out there, there's somebody else with a cigar.
Well, that's kind of cool.
And they sell cigars on board.
Now, I would assume that they also have the obligatory gift shops and all that kind of happy stuff, but it's mostly Disney, right?
Mostly Disney. Again, on the bigger shops, you can get and on this one, they were smaller shops because of the size of the ship, but they sold Tag Heuers. Mm-hmm. On the bigger ships, you can get Omegas. And I'm forgetting the other higher end watches that they had. And of course, jewelry they'll sell. But yeah, and then all the other swag is you can get your ears and your backpacks and your Disney luggage and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Sounds like you had a great time, and I think that repositioning is a neat idea because I would imagine they don't probably fill up, or do they?
Like she was saying, 1,800. Oh yeah, they had Breitling.
Okay.
Normally they're full, so this one would have had 2,400 because we did notice a lot of empty tables in the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty unusual.
Well, because I know that when we were going to go on that cruise with you guys, like within 3 days, I mean, it's like you didn't even have a chance to go to the computer and it was gone. So I think this would be a neat way to do it. Now, so when they reposition this ship, it'll go from Vancouver to San Diego, or the one you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, it'll go back down to San Diego to start doing Mexico again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes, what Scott said.
Oh my
God! Exactly. Yeah.
Smoking.
Oops. Sorry.
Get him back up there.
Smoking that would be awesome.
when I had the cigar, so it's on the back end of the ship, and you're just sitting out there with your cigar. You know, you watch that wake behind you, just looking out onto the ocean. Oh my gosh. You get a nice scotch from the bar right there and take it out with you. And
Yeah, I mean
that's living.
Yeah, because we did that. We went on a Caribbean cruise, and this was with a group. And every night we would meet. They actually had a physical cigar lounge, and it was great. It was fantastic. You know, back before they moved them all mostly outside now, I guess.
Yeah. But, yeah. So that was okay with you because I think that Royal Caribbean one had a smoking lounge, but boy, that would fill up with folks. And then it was like, you know, the TSC con in Vegas where it would get like thick with smoke.
Yeah, we never, you know, we it usually was just us. I mean, it was usually there's like 8 of us, and it was usually just us. And it was great. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. We, you know, obviously we'd bring our own cigars, but then we'd buy an obligatory one, you know, obviously to support the ship, you know,
yeah,
and stuff like that. So, just a quick program note: we will not be having a show next week because Dave's having a graduation. Is this your youngest that's
the
graduating?
youngest, the last of 3 graduating from high school. Yeah.
Oof. That's awesome. You're getting old. But that's kind of cool. So we'll figure out what we're going to do 2 weeks from today. So make sure you join us. Any final thoughts there, Dave?
No, it's funny. You know, do you get that feel like after you're on the sea for a while, you sit here and you still feel like you're moving for a while? I love that.
I've never slept better than on a ship. Although I could fall asleep in a jumpsuit of a C-130 like there was nobody's business. It pissed people off. Because as soon as we take off, I'm out.
Isn't that like sitting on concrete?
Yeah, it's well, you know, remember those old lounge chairs that we had that had the webbing on them?
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing, except a little bit more saggy. They're just cargo. Yeah, they're just cargo nets, and you just kind of find a position. It's like being in a vertical hammock, and then you know you have a couple of molly straps that go up. But yeah, I could fall as soon as we're. In fact, there was one time I fell asleep before we even got off the ground. Yeah, people hated me for that because I can.
So you wake up with like a waffle print on your butt.
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. Yeah. In fact, when we flew to Bosnia, you know, flying from Pope Air Force Base to Lakenheath in London and then on to Bosnia, it was all on a C-130, and it was just,
jeez,
that's all right. That was okay.
Wait, can you get up and you can get up and walk around though, right?
Yeah, but there's a head, and there's a little thing where you can get some water and some coffee. And the coffee, I think they probably just shipped from Lackland Air Force Base from 1955, and it's it's not good. But I don't mind that because to me it's not like I know a lot of people will fly first class or business class, and hey, good on them. But to me, I would rather spend the money once we're there, you know, or like in a cruise ship, because what I like about cruising, you unpack once and you're done, and now you just eat and eat and eat and eat.
Yeah,
which is a good thing. Now, if you would have had a specific, I know you didn't, but if you would have had a specific dietary request, would they have been able to do that? Like a keto friendly or a diabetic style thing?
Yeah. And I mean, not to keep saying that they're the best, but I know Disney is also one of the best for dietary requirements. Because a lot of people are concerned with their kids and allergies or gluten this or that and all this stuff. So you send all that stuff in beforehand so they have a list.
That's pretty cool.
And if you're super sensitive, then you can look at the menu for the next day and they'll help you pick. And you know, so they know I have a shellfish allergy. And so I have to be careful to tell them cross-contamination is okay for me. I've never had a problem. Right. But if you're super sensitive, it takes longer to get your food because they'll clean a whole section in the kitchen to cook your food.
Well, that makes sense because think about it. Yeah. If you had an allergic reaction, you're out in the middle of the water. That's no bueno. Even though I know the ships have infirmaries in them, it's not the same.
Right. Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Dave will throw up the little join us. If you have any questions or ideas for shows, please put that in the comments. We'll try to get back to you. And if you have some ideas for shows, I do need to say one shaving thing real quick. One shaving thing.
Yes. Oh, I got a shaving thing too.
Okay, good. You can add that on the end. What one of our people over at at the cadre had made mention to me about specifically with a straight razor buffing or flat blading and stuff like that. And he had heard from a few people that when you're buffing with a straight razor, you actually lift the blade off your skin. And that is like, no.
Bueno.
And I told this person, punch the person in the face, because no, that blade should just be back and forth gliding on your skin, because otherwise, yeah, no bueno. So
yeah.
Anyway, I need to mention that for all the shavers out there. Do not buff with a straight razor and pull the blade off of your skin. It will not end well. And your
public service
thing. What about your shaving thing?
I'm a little worried. Well, the one thing I use in every single shave is what?
Thayer's lemon.
Mm-hmm. I can't find it. Well, I can find it, but there's a premium to it now on Amazon, and it's not in the stores.
Well, it's funny. I was in the stores today, so I looked in Fry or Kroger. I looked in Walgreens, Walmart. It seems that they are not carrying the flavor. They've got the rose.
Yes.
They've got, but I'm not seeing any of the other stuff anymore. And I don't know if that's because it's not selling to people. But that stinks.
I need people to research and tell me what I can use. I use the what is this true?
Lemon has been discontinued?
I hope it's not true. Because I have Quinn's, but Quinn's is like a little thicker and it leaves kind of a residue.
Well, look for Humphreys. Humphreys.
All right.
Yeah, that would be horrible. I've got 3 bottles.
See, we asked for them to help we promote them, and could we get a little swag? They said no. Look what happened.
Yep.
Nobody's buying it.
Nobody's buying it.
Yeah. Could have saved them.
Yeah, that stinks. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Like I said, don't forget, we're not going to be here next week, so you guys can take the day off. And for those of you on the cadre, we will have a Zoom call on Sunday, though. We will have those coming up this Sunday. And like I said, if you have any ideas for shows coming up, please let us know, and we will do our best to get it done. What do you think, Dave? You think that's a wrap?
I think so, sir.
Say good night, Dave.
Night, Dave.
We'll see you guys, everybody, later. Take care.